Hello, everybody. Eric Dillman here, and welcome back to another episode of the Pro Series podcast. This is episode 35 with Nina Takesh. She's an interior designer based out of Beverly Hills, California. She has designed nurseries for so many A-list celebrities. She talks about all of that. She talks about her remodeling expert career, her YouTube page, Red Elevator, and also talks about a very fun partnership she had with a very big company here in the US. But now make sure you make it your way over to the podcast and subscribe, rate, and review. And I hope you enjoy episode 35 with Nina Takesh. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nina, for joining me today on the Pro Series podcast.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on your podcast. So thank you for inviting me, Eric, and wanting to hear about my story. So this is very exciting for me.
Yeah. I always like to talk to my guests on how I found them. And I found you based off of one of your projects, which we talked off screen, that is actually in your own home. And once we talk about your website, I'll show you the picture of what I'm talking about. I can't wait to do that because you have a very intensive, great detailed website. But I first want to start out on how you started out into the interior design business. And was it always something you loved as a child and went into? And did you go to school for it? Like, how did that all come about?
So that's a very good question. A lot of people ask me how I started or how I can give them tips on how to start. But I was born a designer.
Okay.
You just know when you're creative. And but my entire sort of education was based around learning about business. And I was very sort of entrepreneurial from the get-go. Like I was making little pins and going door to door and trying to sell them. And, on my street, I mean, there was always this spirit of entrepreneurship. And then my father, of course, is an architect. So that was probably one of the reasons why I was very much sort of thrust into the world of architecture and design, because we would, we would always be doing things design related. So whether it was, being at his office and looking at architectural plans, or going to open houses with him, as a child for fun, and, taking art classes and drawing buildings. And it was just really part of who I was. I remember collecting my parents' architectural digests in my room. Like they would just receive it and I would be like, this is amazing. And I would grab it and I'd put it in my room. And by contrast, my sister had zero interest. So I knew I was a little bit different from the rest. And it was just something that I loved doing. But I kept thinking, when you're brought up, with parents that really value education, they were always promoting like you'll be a lawyer or a doctor, or you go to business school. And so my sister's a lawyer, but she was born to be a lawyer, and I was born to be an interior designer. So I went to business school. I actually did not go to art school of any kind. I wish I had gone to art school, but I did take a lot of art classes, and I thought about going to architecture school at some point, and then I just went straight to business school. So that's the long and the short of it.
That's very cool. That's interesting because I went to design school, but I wish I got a master's degree or something in business, because interior design, it's running.
It's a business. It is a business. Yeah. And you need it. And I think one of the reasons I've been really successful, to be honest, is because I have the mindset of a business person. So I know how to monetize. I know how to do marketing. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. I was the a marketing manager at Huggies when I lived in South America. So I've worked for big company. I worked for Coca-Cola, for a while doing auditing and, just really terrible accounting business stuff. And so I got a lot of experience running businesses and learning from the best, from AC Nielsen, Kimberly-Clark, which is, one of the biggest consumer packaged goods companies, household goods out there. And so I knew how to run a business, and that really has helped me in my design business. And it helps that, of course, I have a love and passion for design. So marrying the two, it's usually one or the other. You're either right brain or left brain, but I think I got some kind of head injury, and I'm able to do both.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because there are a lot of companies out there that are the interior design companies, and they fail just because of they don't know how to run the business.
Yeah, and it's cash intensive.
Yeah.
You have to have people don't realize how much money you have to spend in order to have employees. And you also have to have, all the things that go with the business. You also have to have, a good sense of cash flow and cash flow analysis, because a lot of times you're buying products for your clients and then they're paying you later. You can't say no. And there's a lot that goes on in running the business and doing it successfully, and knowing, that fine line with understanding cash flow.
Absolutely. And it's funny when you bring up the cash flow thing, I think the biggest problem with designers, they just design to make it look nice, and they're not taking into account, or they never ask the question for the budget. And
Yes.
that's a big part of our job, is trying to figure out the budget and figuring out what can fit in the budget.
Yes, I mean, budget is a very big concern. A lot of times when I ask my clients, what's your budget? Initially, they think, oh, well, I'm not going to say a big number, or I don't want her to think I want to spend money because it'll be more expensive. In fact, it's the opposite. When I ask for a budget, is because I want to allocate. I don't want you to go over budget. I don't like going over budget. It's actually a fun exercise in staying within budget. Why? Because A, the client's happy. B, I don't have to keep asking, is this too expensive, or is this not, I know what my budget is and I know what I'm doing and I can power through it, versus wondering if this is too expensive or not expensive enough and so forth. And I'm allocating the money where things need to go. So if it's a beautiful piece and I have a budget that is plentiful, fine. But if I have a strict budget, and well, then I'll compromise. I'll buy that one piece that might be, very exorbitant, but that's because I know it's going to make the room. And then on the flip side, I'll find something that's more reasonable that I can mix with it. And so it really is a good idea, I think, for people that are thinking of hiring interior designers, to really have a budget and know what you're doing, because otherwise it's just, it's just a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are, like you said, are scared of that because they're afraid they're going to get like taken advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure there are people like that, so you have to be cautious. But again, you're not going to hire a designer you don't trust. References are huge. Talking to other customers, other clients that the interior designer has worked with is always a great idea. And really understand the breakdown of how the interior designer is charging their client, so that you understand when you say a budget, you know exactly what that means.
Yeah, that's true. What is the best advice you'd give to someone starting out as a designer to how to go about the questioning of a budget?
I would be very transparent and say, do you have a budget in mind? Because it's important for me to be able to give you maximum value. So if I want to put the money where the money needs to go. So, every project is different. There's construction in some, there's just furniture in others. And so, you'll be able to ask that question. And I always think transparency is the best way to go. Like, I'm not the kind of designer who doesn't show my invoices and all of a sudden, none of that. So I'm like, this is what I paid. You got to pay a percentage of that, but I'm going to get you the best deal. Like, you can't get this price. I'm basically getting it for you because of my relationships, my designer discount, et cetera, et cetera. This is not available to the public. This is just for the trade. And then I charge a markup on that, but I'm very transparent. I show the invoices, and people like that. People want to see today, in today's world, what exactly they're paying for. There's there's no mystery. Like, nothing can be mysterious.
Yeah, I guess it all comes down to confidence, and if that you could actually deliver that question to your customer. And it's hard when you start out, but you'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Next, I want to talk about how you started with your children's boutique, and what you did for some very famous people in their homes, and kind of how you segued into where you are now.
Yes. So after I decided the corporate world wasn't for me. I got a tremendous amount of experience. It was great. I moved back to the United States, and I soon thereafter got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I found myself, I live in Los Angeles. So I found myself going to, and you would think for a cosmopolitan city like this, they would have the best baby stores around. So I found that I had to go to a combination of stores. I had to go to Babies R Us to get the utilitarian things like the strollers, et cetera. I had to register at a store by the name of Bellini, which had, all the cute things. And then I had to buy my furniture from a different store that had furniture. And I just felt overwhelmed and couldn't understand why it wasn't all under one roof. And so the whole concept of a one-stop shop really was born with the brand that I created literally from nothing, Petit Trésor. And it became very, very successful, knock on wood. We were, in every trade magazine you can think, not trade, every paper you can think of. We got tremendous amount of press. We were on E! We were on, Entertainment Tonight. We were on Access Hollywood, every magazine. This was when Britney Spears got pregnant. And of course we did her nursery, and that just blew up, and it trickled into doing a lot of, if somebody was famous, they were literally basically shopping at our store. So we were very lucky. We counted our blessings, and we had a very successful run for almost, I want to say 17 years. And when the part of the business that I love the most, I love the business aspect of it. So I was in charge of basically all of the finances and the purchasing and, running the business and its marketing and so forth. But the part that I loved the most was also the design. And so we would design, from Jennifer Lopez to, we had Beyonce shopping, delivering things incognito to her estate. You name it, it happened. We were filling private jets for for the royal family of Saudi Arabia and other countries. And we would just, load it in there and they would take off. So the part that I loved the most was the interior design aspect. So we would create these very luxurious rooms, nurseries, I should say, playrooms, and that would trickle into other rooms. I remember we did Lisa Marie Presley's, and she had this concept of a forest-like room. And, we basically created this enchanted forest with these very intricate murals and these gorgeous, she loves roses. It's her thing. And so we painted roses everywhere. And these are the things that really gave me the experience to have interaction with clients, very high level clients. How do you service them? How do you get the products? Where do you get the fabrics? How do you do coloring? All of that is basically what an interior designer does, but we were doing it for nurseries. And so when I decided to close retail right before COVID, it was a very natural transition for me to go into my interior design business, because I had additionally done a lot of flips for myself.
Okay.
And on the side, I was always, I'm always, the entrepreneurial in me is always looking for multitasking and doing more. And I was buying a house, remodeling, selling, and I built my own house from the ground up. I gut renovated a couple of my homes prior to my final house that I'm in right now, that I literally built out of nothing because it was barren land. And so all of that just led me to, this is my passion. This is my dream. This is what I do. I am happiest doing interior design. To me, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like having a good time and getting paid for it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Like you dropped so many high profile people in there. I was just like laughing because I'm like,
I know it's crazy.
How is it different designing for someone very high profile like that, and then just someone like normal like us?
Well, NDAs. So there's a couple people I can't mention because we've signed NDAs, but you can imagine who they are. They're in the news all the time. And the other thing that is different is that you have to go through other people. So when you're dealing with, depending on the client, but when you're dealing with a high profile celebrity, that you don't call them, you call the person that's handling the project. And so you have to go through different channels. And so sometimes it creates more of a logistics issue because you can't get direct information. And sometimes we had, clients like when Stefani was one of our, first clients who came in with her son, and she just is the most normal, the coolest. She's like, I want to buy a crib today. And we're like, okay, it's Gwen Stefani. She's been on so great. Like, no problem. So, it really depends. Everybody's different. Everybody has different, a different way that they live, and you wouldn't believe how normal some of these celebrities are. They just everybody's has difference, but the main difference really is just the logistics of getting a hold of them.
Gotcha. Do you ever miss having that storefront for the children's boutique?
Absolutely not.
Oh no.
I do not miss it. It was blood, sweat, and tears for many, many years. It's a very labor intensive, all consuming business, and I am very happy now not having a retail storefront. I think that it just sucks all of the energy out of you, because rents are so high. So you're basically working night and day to be able to pay all of your staff, to pay your overhead, to pay the insurance, it's just a cash machine that you have to continuously feed. And so the focus is off of the design, and the focus is on, okay, how much money are we going to make so we can cover all of these costs? I mean, we were on Robertson and Melrose. There's no, other than Rodeo Drive, that is, the highest, per square foot region in definitely in California and almost all of the world. There's only a few places that charge that amount of rent. So it's very stressful, and it's tough. Retail is a very difficult business, which is why, I wanted to pull out. It was just too much work. It's just too much.
And I can imagine it probably took years to get to the point where you were doing those celebrities, correct? There was probably a lot of blood, sweat, and tears between them.
Well, we were really lucky, I have to say, because year two, I believe it was year two, maybe year three, Britney Spears walked in and then just put us on the map. At the time, it was like the biggest thing on the planet that she had broken up with Justin Timberlake and was now with Kevin Federline and was pregnant. And prior to that, the pregnant celebrities would always shy away from press, because they're like, I'm pregnant, I don't want anyone to see me. So they would go off, have a baby in secret, come back out. And then when it started hitting, magazines like Us Weekly and People and so forth, celebrities started to monetize that. And so they were getting, cover shots because of the fact that they were pregnant. And so it just changed. I really, truly believe that it was our store. And I know it was, because that's how it happened, that transformed the whole idea between celebrities, monetization. And then of course it grew into something else. But at the time it was really about, okay, what can I get from sharing my pregnancy? It wasn't about being ashamed of it, but it was about embracing it and sharing it with the world, the trials and tribulations. If you recall, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, it was a big deal that she was pregnant, and it became a big news. So her shopping is a big deal, and it became news in itself. And so celebrities sometimes would come just so they can get photographed too. I mean, you had, B-level celebrities that are like, oh, I'm going to go there so I can get photographs, so then I'll get press. Yeah. So it almost became its own machine and its own sort of the pre-social media. That is how you were able to get noticed. And of course now nobody cares anymore, and it's all about social media and it's all about the collaborations. But at the time it was a really we sort of brought the idea of bringing your pregnancy to light and being able to get sponsorships from big brands and so on.
Yeah, when you said that about the magazines and stuff, I do remember seeing something. I don't know who it was, but they show the nursery, like that's part of, like, it was like a People magazine or something. So yeah. Were some of your finished part of that?
Sure, yeah, we had a lot of our nurseries in People magazine. Like I mentioned, we had Lisa Marie Presley. We had Gwen Stefani's where it was never pictured, but Jennifer Lopez's was. We had Rachel Zoe, who did. We did her nursery as well, with her first son. And we had Ciara, I always mispronounce, Is it Ciara or Kiara?
I don't know. I'm not very good at pronunciation.
I'm terrible with that. Maybe we edit this part out and I say Ciara. I think it's
I can
Ciara.
do that.
It was Ciara. I'll say it again. So Ciara had her nursery published, and then we had, and then it started showing up on Instagram as well. So towards the end, it wasn't just in the trades, but it was also in on social media. And it became, really fun for people to see and try and mimic and and have access to what these aspirational rooms are like, so they can create the same room for themselves.
Oh yeah, I think that's crazy that you said you've done all of that before social media was really a thing, because I think social media has done wonders for our business in many ways, but also has destroyed it in many businesses. But I think, like you said, when a client comes with you from like a picture of Gwen Stefani's nursery and they're like, I want this, it's so nice to have that, because a lot of customers aren't visual and they see what they have in their head, but they can't explain it. So having the resources of social media nowadays is so nice, in my opinion.
It's great. I mean, I think it's been, for our business, for interior design, it's critical, because you don't have to wait for a project to be published. It's almost irrelevant to wait to get published, because the time that it takes to get published, it takes so long. And by then the design is almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
And things are moving so fast and people want to see it right away. And you get more clients from sharing a photo on Instagram than you would, I kid you not, from being in Architectural Digest. I mean, I'm in a group of interior designers. We talk all the time, and some of the best in the world. And there's a consensus that you gotta show that image, because that's what speaks to people. And essentially you are reaching an audience that is going to potentially hire you. And that audience, isn't going to wait for Architectural Digest to come out. By then it's passe.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like, I think it was last year when Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis were on Architectural Digest and they showed their whole LA home. Like, I only saw that because of social media.
You wouldn't have seen it because maybe you weren't, perusing through AD or everybody was talking about it, everybody was sharing it. And Alicia Keys's house that came out, it just was like, it was incredible because it was all over social media, beautifully done. And that's what's happening now, is people want to see, there's this direct need to see things immediately, quickly, preview, sneak peeks. It's really hard to even keep up, actually, because things are changing at a velocity that I can't even, luckily I'm quick, I'm too fast. I'm fast, which is why I'm always like hurting myself, because I'm like, this is what it is. I can't even breathe sometimes because things are happening. Clients expect things right away. I remember when I was running my retail store, people would place an order for very high-end custom European items. And then they're like, well, when am I getting it? And literally within the hour of placing the order. And I couldn't say this, but I was thinking, this isn't Amazon. Like I cannot get these products over to you overnight, because there's a process, and some of these are being drop shipped and some of them are in customs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, this need for speed, as much as it's interesting and good to be able to get things quickly, is also this unrealistic expectation, I think, is difficult for a lot of designers just to be able to handle.
Oh, absolutely. Especially during this time period right now that we're going through. It's impossible to get stuff in. Impossible. Well, I did hear a rumor about you doing some type of partnership with Ruggable. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a lifelong dream of mine to have my own rug collection, but additionally to have a rug collection that is accessible to, Ruggable is one of the leading direct-to-consumer companies in the United States, if not United States, Canada, and maybe even the world. So they have an incredible company that has rugs that are washable.
Yeah.
So it's this concept that is really a great one for those that have pets, or for those that just want to live their lives and not stress, and at a great price point. But then, you know, you want to have that elevated design. And what the interesting thing about these rugs is that they look really great. And when you've got my design on it, you know, it's something that I love and approve. And, you know, if I were to put that design on a, you know, on a silk rug or on a wool rug, it would cost, you know, 20 times that, 30 times that. So you're able to get something at a fraction of the cost that has the same high-end designer look at an accessible price point, and you can throw it in the washing in your washing machine.
Yeah, that company I've always been so fascinated in, because a lot of people are saying like you could have nice things until you have children, and then when you have the children or dogs or something, you have to like downgrade your design style. And I never want to.
No, do not do that. Yeah.
And
yeah.
with those expensive rugs that you're talking about, it's probably impossible to keep those clean. But with Ruggable, it's so easy to have a stylish looking home and be able to clean it and still give your kids the freedom of doing just being kids.
Yeah, and living. It's, you know, it's difficult because I'm very, very, you know, I have a little bit of issues with making sure everything is tidy and clean and orderly and organized, and it sometimes takes over. But I've come to the realization as I've gotten older that what's the point of having all these nice things if they're just in a cupboard, you know, covered in, you know, in whatever, in dust bags and things. And I've tried to transform, and I certainly, I'm working on getting better at just living and enjoying, because who knows how long, you know, any of us have. And why shouldn't our surroundings be beautiful? There's a, you know, there's a sentiment, there's a feeling you get when you walk into your home and you look around, at least for me, and things look, you know, beautiful and they're placed nicely, and everything, there's order, but there's beauty. And it just, to me, elevates my my spirit. And that's what I try and achieve in design, is to really elevate your spirit in a way that makes you feel great and happy, and to love your surroundings. And that is exactly what, you know, I preach. And that is why when you have kids or dogs or whatever, none of that should compromise your ability to live a beautiful life.
I 100% agree. Yeah, because a lot of people just think design is just aesthetically pleasing, what it looks like, but it's also so mental too. Like you can move into an empty house with just put a couch in there, and it's not going to feel like a home, or mentally put you to relax in the home until you actually make it a home and actually make it relaxing yourself with the design.
Yeah, and different designs speak differently to different people. And I know that when I like walk by a little corner that I've done that has the perfect juxtaposition of maybe like a beautiful mid-century chair with like, you know, an 18th century mirror, and it's the perfect combination. Like my heart skips a beat. I kid you not. I'm like, oh, I love that. And then I move on. And then I have moments like that throughout my house, especially when it's spring and I look outside, and I spend a lot of time on my landscape and my landscape architecture and plantings and so on, because it's, to me, a part of the home. So when I see, you know, new flowers that are in the spring that are blossoming, and I see like a bush that's finally taking the perfect shape, I mean, that makes me ecstatic. Yeah. It makes me happy. It brings joy into my life. So it's not about, you know, it's not about the item. It's not about, you know, this item that I paid, you know, $40 for, or whatever this may be. It's really about the sentiment, and it's really about how you feel when you're in that space. And there's also a spiritual component. There's a mental sort of health component. There are a lot of people that talk about and write about mental health and design, and it evokes a certain sentiment in you. And I mean, you know, walk into a chaotic home and you'll feel chaos, you'll feel uneasy.
Yeah.
A house that's messy, that's just unorganized, that's got too much color or whatever, it could set you off. It'll set off your mood. So it's really important, and it doesn't have to be things that are expensive. You can do it for nothing. You know, beautiful coat of paint, a beautiful item you find at, an off store, one of these discount outlet stores. It's how you display it. Get a beautiful book and put that on your coffee table. Everybody can afford a beautiful book that is of, exquisite designs, and enjoy it and live in it and love it and appreciate it. And that's really, my sort of thought.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing of being a good designer. You have to figure out how your client feels about certain colors or certain stuff. Like my house, as you can see, I have a black wall. I have a lot of black accent walls throughout my house. And a lot of people think that's very dark and depressing, but it's paired with warm woods and all of the,
yeah.
And it's all the other walls are white. And that's actually brings me to my next point where I want to show you how I found you.
Okay, great. Yes.
On your website. And those who are listening to this on podcast, you could head over to her Instagram account or her website. But if you click here on projects, this is the picture of, I guess you said it's your kitchen.
This is my kitchen, yes.
That is what I saw it on my Instagram For You page or Discover page.
Yeah.
And someone else posted about it, talking about how they loved your design. And that's how I found you. But
oh, wonderful. Great.
My dream
Instagram,
kitchen.
Right? It's all through Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The flooring going vertically like that is probably the most interesting flooring design I've seen in a while. It just like catches your eye. What got you to do that?
So as I mentioned, I built my house from the ground up. I had previously purchased homes, gutted them, redid them, but it never felt right because I wanted the right ceiling height. I wanted the right soffit. I wanted this, I wanted that. And so at one point I went to my husband and I said, listen, I found a piece of land in Beverly Hills, probably the last piece of land you could get in Beverly Hills at the time. I want to build, my dream house on there. And I was just waiting for him to say, are you crazy? Because we just literally finished our gut remodel and it was a complete gut remodel. And he said to me, go big or go home. And I was, and I couldn't believe it. Those words, we used to say, we didn't go big, we went home because it was such a difficult project. And we almost regretted it at some point in the middle. But now, of course, we're really glad it happened. I had this vision of black and white floors, and it was very hard to execute because you couldn't find the right materials. And so I found these 12 by 24 tiles, as you can see. I had them cut in the middle. And then we created these strips with Black Absolute and Carrara. And we just laid them on a diagonal, which made it really fun. And basically, and then we had to do the grouting. Now the grouting was difficult because we had to do the grouting where the white was in the white, and then with the black, the white would get into the black grouting. So then we had to go in, and it was very labor intensive. It was costly in that sense. And if I had endless amounts of money, I would have done them with slabs, but that would have been just cost prohibitive. But it turned out, magically. And it's part of the house that's, that speaks to me. It's very, as you can see, it's very wow. It's not for everybody.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
But those who love it, can't get enough of it. And it's fun. You want to experiment. Design shouldn't be about doing things for resale. And I say this a lot to my clients. They're like, well, if we do that, then the house isn't going to be great for resale. And I said, to hell with, I might use a little bit more colorful language. I'm like, to hell with resale. Live your life, your true design life. Do what you love, enjoy it. And so what if, and by the way, if you have good aesthetics, someone who has great aesthetics is going to love your house, is going to buy your house. So,
yeah.
But you can't even think that way. You just have to do what you love. And so, this was a labor of love, this house, and every square foot was thought out very methodically. A lot of research went into it, which really helped me with my interior design business. They say 10,000 hours, in the outliers. I think I studied 20,000 hours just for this project because I wanted it to be perfect. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. It's
Thank you for sharing you know, liking it too.
Oh, it's amazing. Like I spent hours on your page when I saw that, just because of that flooring just like literally stopped me in my tracks. Just like there's not many designs that do that.
Do that, yeah.
Stop. It's, a lot of them are nice and they're beautiful to look at, but they don't like actually stop. And it's almost like when you listen to a song that you hear the lyrics and they're just like, wow, they touch your
Yeah.
core. That's what
That
that.
was really wow, especially because I completed that, I want to say about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So for
Okay.
6 years ago, it became really wow. And then I did see, you know, a couple other people do it, and it was still great. I mean, I still, you know, I was glad that other people were picking up on the boldness. I think Tommy Hilfiger did that in one of his houses,
Oh,
you know, a couple of years after. And it's great. It's great to see people get inspired
yeah.
and push the envelope and be bold. And, you know, now everything's neutral and just, you know, it's the no kitchen, and it's the,
Yeah.
you know, light wood and white and all of that, which is fine. But, you know, design goes through its cycles. So
Exactly.
it was at a time where bold was really, and, you know, people gravitated towards it, and I still love it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, Nina, I would like to end on promoting everything you, where they could find your website, Instagram, YouTube, everything.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I mean,
Thanks for
it's
joining.
so sweet of you to ask, and I hope that people are interested. My website is ninatakesh.com. My last name is spelled T as in Tom, Akesh. That's my handle for Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I share a lot of my passion, and, you know, for free. I do it not for, you know, any it's not for financial reward, trust me. It's to really share my passion with people that are my followers, who I find to be probably some of the nicest group of people I have met, because I never get hate. I just get love, and I give love, and I get love, and it's so rewarding. And so that channel is called Red Elevator, and it comes out every Sunday for those of you who are interested in watching. And it has a lot of good tips and tricks, and, you know, how to organize your home and how to do design and what are the colors of the year and all those things. But a majority of what is also interesting is on my Instagram. So that's my name, at Nina Takesh. And the stories are really fun because I take you along the journey. So right now I'm doing a flip in Sherman Oaks in California, and everything that is happening is I'm showing, you know, the mistakes, the corrections. So if you want to learn and you want to be involved, you know, definitely follow the stories.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nina, for jumping on. I'm so honored to have you on here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nope.